sure some of you may have faced some traffic, so some of your colleagues are yet to join, but we are going to begin. We don't want to keep people who have already come here waiting. The format of what we're going to do today is I'll have my colleague Puneet Garg to make a brief presentation to cover the telecom sector, the current status of that, and then get into Reliance Communications, our businesses, and as we end, I will talk about the way forward. Post that, we will have an opportunity for a Q&A session. We will divide the Q&A into two parts. One is to take telecom industry specific questions, so that is first put out of the way. And then second is to take Aircom or Reliance Communication related questions that have not yet been answered based on both Puneet's presentation and my comments. So I don't mind, it may be repetitive, but I'll be happy to interact and answer. We are going to naturally, as all of you are here for Reliance Communications in the telecom sector, we're going to restrict this discussion and the Q&A only to the telecom sector. I'm sure we will have another opportunity, and our AGMs are scheduled at the end of this month. So I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to talk about each of the companies and each of the progresses that the companies are making. So let me first start by inviting my colleague Puneet Garg to start his presentation, and then I will join back. Thank you so much. Puneet.
Thank you, Mr. Ambani. Good evening, everyone. In today's presentation, as Mr. Ambani said in the agenda, we will cover the challenges faced by telecom sector itself, and briefly cover Aircom business, and then the strategic initiatives which we have initiated over last 2 years to reduce our debt, and of course after that Mr. Ambani will summarize it. Next. So if we look at the telecom penetration and growth, that has been directly correlating with the GDP growth of the country, and success of citizens of India on the world map. In India specifically is a big contribution of telecom growth itself, coupled with IT. And all of you know that that all has been possible with 10 lakh crores of investment over last 15 to 20 years in telecom, and of course one of the highest number of employment generated by this sector after IT, which is 40 lakhs people are today employed in telecom, directly and indirectly with the telecom company and in the ecosystem. And of course, telecom sector has been contributing almost 1.3 lakh crore to national exchequer annually. Next. If we really look at today that, while we have done so well, what has happened to this sector, and what is the current status of this sector, and I'm sure that you guys have heard and read and have been given with many numbers. Some talk about 5 lakh crore of debt, some talk about 8 lakh crore of debt, and we ourselves has been analyzing, and we put forward in front of you that what is the jigsaw puzzle of 5 lakh crore or 8 lakh crore, which number is actually correct out of that. So I think on top of it, when you look at it, it talks about 3 distinct categories. There is a debt of which you call is a bank borrowing, whether Indian or overseas. which is around 2,80,000 crore. And we have also DOT spectrum liability, which everyone has purchased between 2012 to 2016, and that today stands at 2,95,000 crore. And that number probably looks familiar to you because one of the letter of DOT secretary which all of you have provided us showed 3,08,000 crore, but 13,000 crore out of that was paid off by the operators in the month of March as the spectrum due. So the net today due is 2,95,000 crore. The liabilities in form of vendor financing and the bondholders, which is the debentures and bonds which we have raised in the domestic market and internationally, also stands at 2 lakh crore, which actually doesn't figure out anywhere when you look at the bank borrowing and the plus the DOT. But if you just look at the DOT and bank borrowing, that today stands at 5,61,000 crore, and you would see that repeatedly because that everyone talks about. So if you really look at it, the gap for that is huge in terms of servicing. So 8 lakh crore is not easy to service, and so why there is a stress in the industry? So I think if you look at the analyst reports and the credit rating reports, everyone reflected for FY17, we just got over, that the revenue would be 2,53,000 crore against the revenue of financial year 16 of 2,33,000 crore. But as a matter of fact, that revenue dipped to 2,10,000 crore. So actually, one should not look, there is a gap of just 23,000 crore, which is like 15, 20. Actual gap is actually 43,000 crore in terms of revenue, which against the projection where it should have been in terms of the normal growth which it has witnessed over the years, and with the data revolution it should have seen, it has not seen. Similarly, on EBITDA, the projections were for sector 78,000 crore, where we actually ended up here is not 12,000 crore less, but actually 25,000 crore less. So what this is doing? So this all has happened. This all has happened and is, I would say the hyper competitive or fiercely competitive activities which started in September. As always happens, a challenger gives always a disruptive tariff, but everyone responded to that. Of course, free for free. The discount on your current tariff cannot compete with free. Only free can, compete with free. So everyone came to that. As a result of that, everyone's, so unlimited free voice for lifetime, and data which was selling until then 250 rupees per GB actually ended up as 3 rupees per GB. You're paying, if you look at the offer, as low as 309 rupees for 90 GB, or 103 rupees per month for 30 GB. So which is, inclusive of taxes, net of that is 90 bucks, so it's 3 rupees. So, which if you look at is 250, 99% discounting over this period has taken place. So if you really look at it, between the second quarter and third and fourth quarter, there is a dip of almost 40% in the data realization rate, and there is almost a dip of 25% on the voice realization rate. And that is stabilizing today, but that has caused the huge downfall on the EBITDA for everyone. In addition to that, if you really look at it, this has resulted in the government revenue also going lower, which is almost lower by 10-12,000 crore for government, what they have got over the years, or in comparison of 16 and 17. And I would say it is, the phrase is true that the good money is chasing the bad money. When you look at the return on investment is less than 2% today, it is better to keep that money in the fixed deposit or savings deposit, which will earn you more, rather than taking risk in, telecom sector. And as I said, this is one of the biggest employer after IT. So we are talking about here that, it is biggest employer. Will it increase, employment going to increase as the 4G, and on annual you have 5G. My answer is that probably you saw some of the articles on it that as consolidation some jobs will go, but the fact is last year quietly telecom industry actually reduced 10,000 jobs, and with the ongoing stress you always have to look at your the cost points, and you always have to shave off them wherever you can. So you would end up reducing 30 to 40,000 more jobs in current year. If we look at the impact on Government of India, and we all saw the auction in August 2016, where we all saw that the 60%, or I would say 90% of the spectrum which was offered unsold. Today we have almost like 2,500 megahertz of spectrum lying with government unsold, which I would say if you look at the 5 lakh crore is very much required for the Indian economy to boost the economy, but that is what the opportunity which government is losing. So basically operators have no money to participate in any auctions, and operators have no money even if the word would say that 5G is knocking at your door to invest into the 5G, unless and until something is done, because you have seen there is only a crisis, crisis and crisis. What are analysts saying about that? So if you look at it, Fitch, ICRA, CRISIL, Moody, all are negative about this sector today, and they all believe that the intense price competition is going to remain for rest of the year. So if we really look at, I think everyone gives a solution or a masala for the telecom crisis, that consolidation has to take place in telecom crisis to overcome that crisis. But is that the solution? And what is left for the consolidation? In 2008, we used to have 14 players. And if we looked at 2016-17, pretty much we are today talking about 6 players only. So the market has reduced from 14 players to just 6 players. And so someone may say, no, we still have 10 to 12 players, but they all are in process of consolidating themselves to create a 6-player market. And if you look at any developed market, you would typically find 4 to 5 players over there. Of course, in most of the markets, you don't have a government player. Here you have a government player. So including that, it is 6 players. Otherwise, it's just a 5-player market. And I would say in that one is a new entrant, which has just entered in and haven't completed even a year. Why this market is shrinking? The question is the economic viability of the market is not that great. And that is why most of the MNs, the global operators are exiting. So none of the global operators would exist in this market after Vodafone and Idea merger, because Docomo has recently sold its stake to Tata Teleservices and already exited Indian market. India is, we are still living in the era of license Raj, or I should say in the 2012, when we used to have the administrative allocated spectrum, or in other words, when we used to get for 1,600 crore nationwide startup spectrum, and on subscriber basis, we used to get the add-on spectrum. So in 1,600 crore, pretty much everyone was getting a nationwide, 5 megahertz, 8 megahertz as they required in each of the circles. And we have defined the tax regime and so-called the revenue share formula back in 99-2000 during the transition, and we have lived through that. While today the spectrum is auction, everyone is buying at the market determined rate, but we pay so-called revenue share and taxes is still in the old era, and that is why I call it this is the sector which is paying the highest amount of tax. And if you really look at it, it's not 33%. If I add the component of the spectrum which you are doing it, you actually are paying almost 43% of your revenue as tax to the government. In comparison, If you really look at the developed economy or the similar economies across the world, you are paying just half of that. So this sector is certainly heavily burdened by the tax, and it's a high time that government looks at the rationalization of tax on the telecom sector. So much so that if we really look at in last 6-8 months, the average realization per minute is 40 paisa for telecom operators. 29 paisa out of that we pay as part of taxes and to others. So what is retention by a telecom operator is just 11 paisa. And if you look at it, is that the right number? And I think when we talk about the free voice minute, we call about unlimited, lifetime free, that has a cost. For subscriber, it is free, but when an operator terminates on other operator, let's say Reliance terminating on Airtel and Voda, it still costs 14 paisa per minute. Digs a big hole in our pocket. So what all of that is doing to the sector? So if you really look at the EBITDA, as we were talking about last year, which was in 15-16, it was, 16-17, it was 53,000 crore. And in the current year, as per the rating agency's analysis, it is estimated to be 43,000 crore. So a further dip. But I think what is important on that you look at the outflows. So outflow on 2,60,000 crore, if you look at the interest rate even at 10.5%, that comes to 27,000 crore. If you look at the repayment of the loans, an average tenure of the loan is always less than 5 years. It's not more than 5 years. So if you look at 20% of that 2,60,000 crore, it's safe to assume that 50,000 crore minimum, I would guess that more like 60,000 crore per year has to be done as the repayment obligation. There is a spectrum deferred charges which has to be paid to DOT, 20,000 in this year. This will go up to 28,000 crore in next year, which is increasing year by year. And of course, CAPEX, if you reasonably assume, which is the maintenance CAPEX, which is the regular CAPEX to upgrade the network, to complete your 4G footprint for most of the operators, or layout of fiber or additional towers to meet the requirement. 65,000 is a low figure, which industry has been spending more than that on average in last 3 or 4 years. So if you really look at that, the total expenses come to somewhere close to 1,70,000 crore. 75,000 crore, minus that the EBITDA, you have a real gap of 1,20,000 crores. And if you really look at it, the debt to EBITDA ratio of everyone, you will find it here a bit different than what you have been used to in terms of reading that. You may actually think that why it is high, because here, the way we have done it is we have added the DOT liability along with the interest, and we have calculated everyone on the same reference. So no one is done. So this is how it looks like today. So where is the capability of investing further? And that is what it justifies. Even when you look at it, Vodafone, they have impaired their assets, and they got $7 billion of investment last year to come to 5.5. Other they would be probably the highest in this thing. So to overcome that, in March 2017, Government of India constituted a inter-ministerial group to assess the telecom sector stress, and to submit its recommendation in 3 months. Industry so far have had meetings with, I would say, 101 with those members, and they consistently has given some of the submissions. I have some of those submissions for you so that you can have a look at. So what industry has requested? Industry has requested that DOT levies, which are in form of AGR, and spectrum usage charges, that DOT or Government of India should provide a 3 years moratorium on that, so that that can be available as a cash flow to the industry to bridge that gap. In addition to that, the spectrum related installments which are due, this year 20,000, next year 28,000, they should provide a moratorium for 3 years on that. Similarly, on service tax and GST, which is increasing, going from current 15 to 18%, government should consider providing a 3 years moratorium on that as well. And I think what you would not know, but like to tell you that all the DOT spectrum installments today carry interest rate of SBI PLR, which is not charged by anyone. So the industry has requested that to be brought down and reset every year as SBI base rate. Given that, there would be some relief to the industry with that. In the next one, industry has also said on the policy related some of the benefits, and TRAI has consistently recommended to DOT and Government of India in this, so it is not just industry is asking to implement some of the recommendations which TRAI has made over the last 5 years repeatedly, where the license fee need to be brought down from 8% to 5%, which is basically nothing. The USO fund is not doing anything, it's not playing any role. So simply saying that cut the USO fund to 0 and make that 8%, which is inclusive of USO, to 5%. The spectrum usage charges, they have consistently recommended since 2012, should be made as flat 1%, but it has not been done. Hopefully they would do it now. And the spectrum deferred charges, which means the installments which we pay should be coterminous with the life of spectrum, which means the spectrum is given for 20 years, it should be, they should give the installment for 20 years. TRAI has recommended that, DOT just need to adopt and implement that. And last one, but the most important, is the mobile termination charge. TRAI in 2015 implemented fixed line to fixed line, no termination charge. Fixed line to mobile, no termination charge. Mobile to fixed line, no termination charge. The only termination charge which is paid is mobile to mobile, 14 paisa. Why should that exist when it's a regime of lifetime voice free? So the request is to make it 0. It may not be of the all operators, but most of them have requested. And last one is a request to the banks, since the Ministry of Finance and the Department of Financial Services is participating over there, that 5 by 25 scheme of RBI is there for some time, but has not been adopted by banks for the telecom sector. In infrastructure sector, they do adopt for power and steel, but not for telecoms. The request is that it should be implemented, long-term tenure should be given, because the gestation period of the telecom is higher. Of course, on ECB, you all know in December 2015, RBI changed the norms of that, and under the new norms, it is 10-year minimum tenure, or the cost has to be same or lower, or the average tenure has to be higher than that. In a stressed sector, who would give you lower than that? It got to be the higher. So the relaxation which industry is demanding, and why it is coming, because in 2010, the spectrum were not treated as collateral by the banks. So everyone had gone to the, I would say international lenders and borrowed money over there. They all are maturing now. So when we need the refinancing of that, we need this relaxation in today's time. So these are the largely requests of the industry. Of course, today DOT has intimated the formal meeting with the full IMG of industry is happening on 12th of June, and that is when everyone, and of course banks etc. would also be making presentations, and they would then recommend their immediate steps which they need to take, and of course they will take some time to actually come back that the policy interventions which is required in a bold way to help the telecom sector. And I would say it's not a help, actually that is all rationalizing the irrational behavior which has persisted over last few years. The regime has changed, but the taxation has not changed. We'll talk about now on the Aircom and take you through that, where we are today as we stand in Aircom. I'm sure that you all are fully updated on that. And so, number one is our wireless business, where we have approximately 85 million customers providing 4G, services pan-India, and of course 2G and 3G, which is a capex-light model for us. Tower business, where we have 43,000 tower, our fiber business with 192,000 kilometer, IDC and enterprise with the long-term contracts. So is our GCX, which is our global business, and DTH with 5 million, and prime real estate in Navi Mumbai and Delhi, and a lot of other places. Some of the key indicators for Reliance, as on 31st, the net assets of company are around 72,000 crores. The spectrum which company holds values today around 20,000 crore, and net worth of company still is 27,500 crores. And Aircom directly and indirectly provides employment to over 70,000 persons across India. Some of the, little more snapshot and KPIs of our wireless business, which all of you are very familiar. So this is what we're doing in tower business. Next. So our towers are actually capable of 4 tenancies and more, but currently we have around 1.7 tenancies per tower. That means many more tenancies we can get, and monetization opportunity does exist in all of our towers. Some of the recap of some of our other businesses, which is fiber business, enterprise and IDC business, GCX, DTH and consumer broadband business, and of course real estate. So time to talk about some of our journey of strategic transformation drivers here. And if we really talk about that, we started our journey of strategic transformation program in 2015, and some of you would remember that in 2015 we signed our first term sheet of tower, so it started beginning from there, but we took some concrete step as well at that time in terms of signing some of the other deals. But our whole of the strategic initiative is for deleveraging the company, providing the competitive edge to the company, and making it sustainable operations with profitability. We have faced some of the challenges in last 1.5 years, and those challenges have been in form of in eastern circles, where the 900 megahertz of spectrum in 2015 went at inordinately high prices, and Aircom at that time made a wise decision not to bid for it or buy that spectrum, but we entered into these circles for an ICR arrangement with Vodafone. Continuity of that at a high cost, if you look at today in the free regime, is not something one would like to, but of course that got replaced or that got getting migrated now to 4G as the adoption of 4G has increased. So as all of you know, that last year in beginning of 2016 we liberalized our spectrum of 800 megahertz, which was administrative allocated spectrum. We paid a liberalization fee of 7,000 crore to make it a 4G compliant spectrum. So that's the 4G spectrum we have. In order to free up for the 4G, we migrated these CDMA customers to our 4G network, and this enabled us to do sharing with Jio and create a pan-India 4G network for our customers. So most of the customers today opting for 4G and moving to that network, and that has actually really kick-started all of our initiatives for overall business optimization. So our strategic merger of SSTL was the first initiative towards the that journey. Of course, tie up with Jio. One for the monetization, another for the sharing trading, and third is our strategic sale of wireless business to Aircel, and of course, which we announced in December 16, is a strategic sale of tower assets to Brookfield, Canada. So our rationale for SSTL is very simple, that our the 8 circles we have listed here, the spectrum is expiring in 2021. We acquired the spectrum from SSTL, which will give us 12 years of additional life up to 2033. If we would have waited until 2021 to expire and buy from the auction, we would have spent equivalent money over there, over 12,000 crore in terms of the present value of that money, what we would have spent in. So if we would have spent much more over there. And today, when we have acquired that spectrum, you know, the net value in the market today, based on the auction 2016, is 7,500 crore. Where are we on this particular? So we have received all the approvals for SSTL, and the final NOC from DOT is awaited, provisional approval they've given, which we need to complete the formalities in next few weeks. We expect this transaction to close by 30 June. It took longer time than expected because we had, I would say, UFOs, unidentified flying objects, in form of one shareholder delaying this by 9 months, and from February 2016 to October 2016, delaying the whole process. Luckily now, with the NCLT process, that process becomes smoother, and hopefully we may not have any more UFOs now. We can only hope for it. Our second, transformation or the initiative is strategic tie-up with Jio. And when you look at Jio, I think all of you know on the tower monetization and intercity and intracity fiber, what is most important here is that if we have 43,000 tower, today Jio network works on 1,50,000 tower. That means the additional 1 lakh tower which they hold, I have reciprocal right to access that without spending any capex. And on same terms on which they have taken from me, I can take that. So if I need to expand my network in those areas, those towers are available to me. Similarly, in intercity and intracity fiber, we have 1,92,000 kilometers, and Jio has done today about 1 lakh of kilometers, and they plan to do another lakh of kilometers. So I would have access, and as the 4G and 5G is going on, you require fiber to each tower because you require more and more bandwidth and higher speeds. I have access at the same terms on a reciprocal basis to all of that, while all other operators at the marketplace has to spend huge capex, and you hear that in all the quarterly report that how many new towers have come in and how many route kilometers they've done. So we do not have to spend. So for us, it's a capex light and OPEX light model as far as tower and that is concerned. So when we liberalize our spectrum of 4G, Jio did not have in pan-India spectrum on 800 megahertz. We traded some of that spectrum. Of course, it helped us in liberalization, but it enabled the sharing between us, because then we both had the 800 liberalized spectrum, which actually helped us in launching pan-India 4G network and providing access to our subscribers. More so, what we gained out of that, we gained is significantly in terms of time to deploy, which is 3 years. We also gained 20,000 rupees, which we would have spent on capex to launch this network. We not only have access to Jio's 800, but through the ICR arrangement, we also have access to their 1800 megahertz and 2300 megahertz to offer the similar speeds and better customer experience to our customers. Now we move on to our activities later in 2016. So our we are creating with this initiative independent wireless company, which is a pure play wireless company focused in India and only India as the territory for that, and creating I would say a third ranked I would say by RMS as well as CMS in India. So it would become one of the third largest company in terms of customers and RMS with 180 million customers at close. even in these hyper-competitive market or fiercely fought market at the marketplace, the company still would be able to realize 20,000 crore of synergy value, which is the NPV over 10 years. The spectrum value which it would have, which it would contain at close together of Aircel plus Aircom plus SSTL would be 28,500 crore. So one of the rationale for us for the 2G spectrum is that Aircel spectrum is valid until 2026, so it gives us additional longevity of 5 years. In exchange of combining this, Aircom would receive 50% stake, and the new company would be known as Aircom. Where are we on this transaction? We have received a stock exchange, CCI, and shareholder approvals. We are, of course, working with the lenders to get their consent for the transaction, and our NCLT next date is on 28th of June. And the DOT approval process has started, which would be granted to us after the NCLT approval is received. We are working hard to ensure we close on or before 30th of September. Tower transaction with Brookfield Canada would help us in reducing our debt further by 11,000 crore, would also create a pure play tower company, and Aircom would enjoy, in addition to reducing its debt, a 49% potential economic upside, which we would be able to monetize after 3 years, either by sale to Brookfield or someone else, or through the listing process. Where are we? All the required approvals have been received, including the DOT, which is in form of IP1 and corporate registration. We are waiting for the lenders approval and NCLT, which the hearing is, next hearing date is on 28th of June. Again, we are expecting this transaction also to close on or before 30th of September. So with completion of these two transactions, there would be reduction of 60% of debt of the company. From 45,000 crore, we would come to 20,000 crore. And company has, is working on plans to further deleverage and service the balance sheet through various initiatives. Strategic sale of our DTH business. We are also looking of a strategic transaction for our global business, which is GCX, global enterprise and India enterprise, of course, coupled with data center. Monetization of our real estate, which is prime real estate in Delhi, and of course 130 acres in Navi Mumbai, DAKC. And of course, in addition to that, we always have the opportunity of monetizing our 49% of stake in tower, which for 51% of what we are selling now, we're getting 11,000 crore. So there is huge upside available there. And of course, our also option of 50% stake in Aircom monetization in full or in part in future if it is required, though we consider it to be very, very valuable. So what would be remaining after this in Aircom Group post this transaction? So we would have, as you have seen earlier, the enterprise and IDC business, which has long-term customer contracts, which are very stable in the revenues. We have also fiber business, which has very long-term contracts and sticky in terms of nature. So this company, when you look at, is sitting on some of the prime, businesses which have very high EBITDA margin, and revenue is growing, consistently, and provides you a stable cash flows out of the remaining business, which is more like, annuity business. With this, I would say that, so what is our way forward at Aircom? And now I would like to invite my chairman, Mr. Anil Ambani. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneet. So I hope, friends, you've got a good overview of the issues facing the telecom sector, the journey of Reliance Communication, what our businesses are, what our assets are, and as we progress the strategic transformation program as envisaged, I think that we are in a very unique position as a telecom operator to create long-term shareholder value, sustainable profitability, and also build a conservative debt profile. As far as the forward path is concerned, as you are aware that we had our results on Saturday, so it was just 5 days ago, or 5 working days. We had a meeting of all the lenders for Reliance Communication and presented our plans for the strategic transformation. And I am happy to report that our plans have been accepted by the lenders. The lenders naturally follow a process, and I'd like to share with you what has been agreed. That the lenders have constituted a joint forum, which is referred as the Joint Lenders Forum. Reliance Communications, the company, under the provisions, will receive a standstill on servicing debt obligations for a period of 7 months, that is till December of 2017. The lenders are enthused and have taken note of the substantial progress that the company has made on the strategic transformation program, especially the creation of a new independent wireless company focused on India only as a pure wireless play, and the agreements, binding agreement signed with Aircel for the same. Also the Reliance Infratel stake sale, strategic stake sale to Brookfield of Canada, which also we have definitive agreements signed. So both of them we believe will lead to a reduction of 25,000 crores worth of debt, 60% by just 2 transactions. I would say that it would be the largest ever debt reduction of any company in India, in the history of India, and will also bring in foreign direct investment, will bring in a long-term player. Brookfield owns tower companies in France, for example. As you know that Aircel is present in India. They are a leading operator in Malaysia as Maxis Telecom. So they are focused on the telecom sector. Of course, they have a satellite business, a DTH business, etc. So we have 2 very strong partners, sponsors, or however you want to really term them. The lenders have given us till December 2017 to complete the transaction, and as was presented by Puneet, based on really the progress that we have achieved, we believe that we will complete these transactions by September of 2017. So we expect to do that way before the so-called deadline of December 2017. We have also working on a plan and presented a plan, and some of the details were shared by Puneet with you in terms of the new Reliance Communication, which will hold a 50% stake in Aircom, which is the name of the new wireless company. It takes air from Aircel and it takes com from Reliance, and we've got that name as Aircom for the company. And then the tower transaction being done post the completion of the Aircel deal, as the new company, Aircom, will be a key tenant apart from Jio, apart from Vodafone, Bharti, Idea, Tatas, who are all our valued customers on Reliance Infratel. So post that, as Puneet has mentioned, that we have a large number of options in front of us, and we will consider each one of them to understand and to realize value, to see what is the sustainable level of debt, which we would like to be on the conservative side, and we will work towards those programs. The approach for us really going forward on this is A, to complete the Aircel transaction, B, to complete the Brookfield transaction, and C is to further deleverage the Reliance Communication or the new Aircom company balance sheet. As Puneet explained, that apart from all the businesses that Reliance Communication will continue to have, which are strong, which are stable cash flows, they are annuities, we also have the 50% stake holding in Aircom, the new wireless company, and the 49% economic interest that we have in Brookfield. And as Puneet mentioned in his presentation, that we will receive 11,000 for 51%. So clearly there is far more value to come in the Brookfield transaction for us. We believe that as we complete this program, we will target to exit this standstill on debt servicing obligations by the end of December. So within the statutory period, we will exit this program and be out of any form of a standstill going forward. Clearly, we are extremely grateful to all our lenders for extending their support. We are very, very confident of completing all our transactions, we would say, before time. We are engaged with the rating agencies, and clearly we are disappointed at the recent downgrades, and which have really occurred due to the telecom sector crisis and unforeseen events. And we are committed to work with all the rating agencies, national and international, engage with them and restore our credit ratings at the earliest possible opportunity. Clearly we have 1.6 million retail shareholders. We have 15-16% being held by foreigners, and at this stage we appreciate all their support, and we look at the overall stakeholders and look at their support for the company in this strategic transformation which we are undertaking in a very, very short period of time. So those would be my comments and the way forward. which I have articulated. And as I said earlier, that Puneet has covered most of the issues, and I'm happy to take questions on the subject of first to do with the telecom sector and industry, and then we can move, once we finish that, we can move to Aircom specific.
Ashwin Mohan here from ET Now, sir. Mr.
And how the entire sector is, of course, under huge pressure, etc. You did talk about what the government is trying to do.
The dialogue that the industry has from the government, how receptive is the government about the changes that you have put down, and has that been received well, and what is the kind of expectation you have from the government at this stage?
Yes. I think that the crisis of the telecom sector, or the tsunami in the telecom sector, is well known in the minds of policy makers, decision makers, the regulators, and our administrative ministry. I mean, just in the case of Reliance Communication itself, after 10 years and 40 quarters, suddenly if things turn in 2 quarters, then there is something systematically happening which is affecting everybody. If the industry is moved to free cash flow negative, so then it's not A player or B player, it's actually the entire sector. So I think that the decision makers in Delhi and the regulator are well versed with the problem, and I think that the reason that an interministerial committee has been formed representing all stakeholders of the government is a step in that direction. I must emphasize that none of our programs of strategic transformation, which is the Brookfield transaction or the Aircel transaction, is dependent on any changes coming or any relief coming to the sector from anybody. So that will be only a catalyst to go and change things rather than be an impediment. So let's assume, I'll just give an example, that we have spectrum valid for 20 years and the payment terms are 10 years. It's applicable to all companies. If that moved to 20, it will basically reduce the pressure on cash flows for all operators, and I'm sure it will benefit Aircom or our new wireless company also. So I think that we see good receptivity. I think that people are seized of the problem, and this was really a showcase sector for everybody. And as people would say, that was first roti kapda or makan. It then became roti kapda, makan, and mobile. And one thing that we are clear about, and I'm sure all of you experience it, is it's unlikely that wherever you go in India, that you will not be connected. You may not have power, you may not have water, I mean quality of water, but you're very sure that you will have, if nothing else, voice connectivity. Let me take your question.
If nothing else, voice connectivity.
Mr. Ambani, thanks so much for taking the question. Ashwin Mohan here from ET Now. 2 brief questions, sir. Firstly, congratulations on getting that much needed extension from the lenders. But if you could throw some more light on what's the plan B after September 30th, because as you outlined, there's going to be a major chunk of deal proceeds that will come in from the Brookfield and Aircel transactions, around 60%. But what about the remaining debt of Aircom? If you could throw some light on what are the strategies that you are looking to deploy on that regard. That's number one. And number two, the tone of the evening has been, of course, the fact that the entire telecom sector is undergoing a lot of stress. And you have pointed out that it's not something unique to Aircom. There are several other players also who are undergoing the same stress as you are and also have debt. So from your point of view, personally, Mr. Ambani, what do you think is the most important and urgent corrective policy that the government needs to put in place to restore operational health in the sector?
The third question.
Let
also,
me.
because
I was
to ask only one. We'll come back to you. Don't worry. So I think let me take the second part first. I think that when lenders, national and international, look at the state of the sector and what was 30, 40, 50% EBITDA margin, good interest cover, strong cash flows, strong free cash flows, correct? Moving to negative free cash flows, then naturally as a lender I would be concerned. So if you ask any lender today in India saying, will you lend to Telecom? The answer is going to be yes but no, which means either there would be very stringent conditions which nobody will be able to meet, so saying I gave you an offer but you can't comply, or the answer would be no. I would say majority of the lenders, India and international, will simply not lend or have not lended, and it is the right decision from their perspective. So I think that when we were to kickstart the process, the first thing that we were told, and I think it was covered in the presentation, was, hey, you guys are too many of you. You are 10, 12, 14, 15, I mean, what's going on? You must consolidate. So the consolidation exercise has started, resulting in 5 or 6 players, and either people have exited for whatever reason, or they've been bought or consolidated, etc. So we have played our role in terms of consolidation. So all consolidation undoubtedly leads to synergies. Now, whatever the value of the synergy is the value of the synergy. We can have a debate and how will it be realized and how much time will be realized, but it is positive, it's not negative in that sense. So I think that what we would like to see as an industry is that the red light from the sector needs to go to amber and then to green. So you're not going to go from red to green, you're going to go from red to amber to green, and it is then to really look at each company, rather than painting the sector with one brush. Look at each company, and everybody has their strengths, and undoubtedly, whether we have valuable 4G spectrum, whether we have ICR arrangements with Jio, whether we have a tower agreement, we have a securitization possibility of 15,000 crores contracts with Jio. Now, if you say that I do not want to securitize Jio, though it's 99% owned by Reliance Industries, then it's a matter of concern. And the concern is not, I don't want to finance that. I don't want to take exposure on telecom. So I think it's to do with that. To your first question, I think that we articulated well that the debt post for the new Aircom will be 20,000 crores. In that 20,000 crores, if I take a conservative value of the 49% of the Brookfield transaction, if the 51 is going for 11,000, I'm saying if the 49 is available at 11, I'm saying let's take half, just for a discussion purposes, okay, nothing for no other reason. So another 6,000-7,000 crores gone from there, so you've gone from 20 to 13. We are 50% in Aircom, so at the trading multiples of today, because now all the bad news has been factored into the telecom prices, whoever does whatever it is a solid value for us. So just these two transactions would make us at a very, very low debt company, including then we have got GCX, we've got the IDCs, we've got cable, we've got DTH, we've got the real estate. So I think that, and I mentioned this in my comments, that we have articulated to the lenders that we're not only addressing how do you go from 45 to 20, but we are also addressing how to make 20 more sustainable over a long period of time. Sorry, long answer to a short question. I'll go to you.
Sir, Anurag from Z Business, sir.
Yeah.
From Z Business.
So, Mr. Ambani, I was just doing a little bit of maths, and correct me if I'm mistaken here, but 25,000 crore rupees out of 45,000 odd crore rupees would be paid off as your plan on 30th of September 2007. Now, post that, as per our assessment, the EBITDA could be of the remaining assets that you have around 1,000 odd crore rupees, while the debt on the books could be close to about 20,000 odd crore. So it makes servicing unsustainable still, despite a huge amount of money being spent in reducing the debt. So a clear roadmap as to what all will have to be done, because an assessment post 30th September is not warranted here. We obviously know that it is going to be still unsustainable at that point. So what are the steps that you could be taking in terms of sale of assets, in terms of real estate, and that 49% economic interest to Brookfield, is that very much on cards? Another question that markets wanted clarity on here, Mr. Ambani, is that there's a lot of supply of tower assets in the market. And that's when the buyer sometimes starts thinking and rethinking again on the term sheets that we have signed. Have you full clarity and confidence that the Brookfield transaction is going ahead?
Sure.
Thanks.
It's part of the repetition of Ashwin's question and the answer, but I'll repeat it so that you can play it on CNBC attributed to me, so that's fine with me. And then Ashwin will say it's exclusive to ET now, and you will say it's exclusive to CNBC now, and my poor friend from BTV will get nothing. So you're okay, and you were first, so they'll say first to first come.
But I don't think that
अलग-अलग views हैं लोग.
Mr. Ambani. So now it's the fact.
Okay, I'll give you. Let me just go back. Clearly, we believe that, and as we've ourselves flagged, so it's not a concern expressed by somebody else. We embarked on the Brookfield transaction. We embarked on the Aircel creation of a new company without any prompting from anybody. So this was our initiative. Most people in India only want to work on prodding or pushing or being forced to doing things and saying, I'm going to go hold a gun to your head. We've done this completely on our own, and we will continue that path. So let's deal with the new Aircom and the 20,000 crores debt, which is there. Clearly not required, has to come down. And what are our options in front of that, which we will actively pursue? One is the 49% in the towers, which is out there. As I said, 51 is at 11,000, so you can do your math since you started with mathematics, and your analyst can do the math for that. And the second is, and I'm just talking about the big ticket, is to look at a strategic sale for our global business, which is our submarine cable business, our Vanco business. It's an annuity, it's all outside India. It's the largest landing station company in the Middle East, in Asia, etc., etc. So I think if we achieve just these two, we don't need to do anything else. I think then we are on a very conservative debt profile, and then we are done. So that is there. Is there anything missing from
Brookfield?
Yeah, Brookfield transaction. Yeah, I think that we've engaged with them as usual. They stay firmly committed to doing the deal. The quality of assets that we have, the number of tenancies that we can host, the number of towers connected to fiber, all have to be looked at rather than here's 20,000 towers, I have 10,000 towers. But if your tenancy is already 1.2 or 2 and you can't take more, then there is no scope for growth. I think that the new paradigm for the sector at the 5 or 6 operators that will hopefully remain is going to be the 3 C's. It is going to be compete, it is going to be collaborate, and it is going to be cooperate. So no longer are people going to say, these are my towers, I'm not going to give it to you. This is my fiber, I'm not giving it to you. This is my radio network, I'm not sharing it with you. I think that the transformation that is the industry is going to do, to be capital light, to get capital productivity, to ensure that they get to some ROEs which are not there today, to start becoming free cash flow positive, is to follow the strategy going forward to saying it's sharing and caring in that sense of 3 C's that I really mentioned. So we have engaged with Brookfield. Just to come back to your question, they're firmly committed to do the transaction. They've got, apart from the quality of our towers, the fiber connectivity. They've got Jio as a AAA anchor tenant, which is very, very important to them. Brookfield is an infrastructure fund, so they are basically an infrastructure company, and they have, as I said, tower assets in France.
सर अनुराग फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस सर मोटी मोटी बातें तो आप कर चुके हैं, तो अब हिंदी में एक सीधा सा सवाल जो हिंदी निवेशक या शुभ चिंतक है जो आपको हिंदी में सुनना चाहते हैं, सर यही समझना चाहेंगे क्या आगे चल के भी जो आरकॉम है उसका भविष्य आपको उज्जवल लग रहा है? आरकॉम आपके साथ ही रहेगा और कोर बिजनेस जो है वो आपका टेलीकॉम ही आपका कोर बिजनेस रहेगा? और ये आज की मीटिंग के बाद क्या आप रेटिंग एजेंसीज हैं उनसे भी मुलाकात करेंगे और उनको भी एक भरोसा दिलाएंगे कि सब कुछ अच्छा है, आगे चल के और अच्छा होगा?
और कोई प्रश्न है तो पूछ लीजिए।
नहीं सर, सीधा सर
8 तो आपने पूछ लिए, तो और 2-3 जोड़ लीजिए।
सर निवेशकों के लिए
जहां तक टेलीकॉम का सवाल है, तो टेलीकॉम सेक्टर का क्राइसिस तो आपको दिखाया गया है। हर टेलीकॉम ऑपरेटर को कोई ना कोई परेशानी है, पूरे सेक्टर में परेशानी है, और जो भी कदम हमने अभी लिए हैं ये आरकॉम को ट्रांसफॉर्म करने के लिए है, 60% डेट रिडक्शन के लिए है, और उसके बाद भी जो 20,000 डेट बचता है उसको भी कम करने के लिए है। तो रिलायंस कम्युनिकेशन का भविष्य उज्जवल है, और जो भी शेयर धारक है उसको कोई चिंता करने की जरूरत है नहीं, और उनको लाभ ही होगा, और जो भी निवेशक है, फॉरेनर्स है, इंडियन रिटेल है, पब्लिक है, वो सब आगे जाके खुश रहेंगे। Good question. In this 7-month period, there is no proposal to convert into anything to the equity, because what are we achieving? Everything that the lender wants to achieve, we are achieving on our own, without any provisioning, without any haircuts, without any NPAs to the system. So how can he have it better? Correct, he can't have it better. Now, optionally, if they want to convert, that's a completely different issue. So what we expect is that in the standstill period till December, correct, we will be business as usual. We will push along on both our transactions as well as the new Arcom. And as I said in my comments, that we plan to exit this standstill period in December or even earlier, as soon as we finish our transactions. I'm just going to go there. Sure. Overseas lenders, clearly the lenders were present today, and they are all supportive of what we want to do. So this was, a combined decision of all lenders today. So this is not, and I'm not playing to the gallery of who's present and not present, but I'm saying all the foreign lenders are supportive. We've been very large customers of these lenders. We've been very large customers for Huawei, for ZTE, for Ericsson, for all the companies. And as you know, that a large part of the telecom funding is to do with equipment and supply, which is true for all companies. So it's not something that is, only for Arcom in that sense.
Yeah. So this is Uma Srivastava from Bloomberg. 2 quick questions. Is a part of GCX also on sale? And the second bit, among the Chinese lenders, have they given some kind of debt relief as well? And have they agreed to the same terms? Any light on that?
I think that as far as the lenders are concerned, it's the first day today that everybody is agreed. I think we will work through with all the lenders on a full program, which will be both international and the domestic lenders, to see that they are comfortable. As I said, as soon as they first see the closure of these 2 transactions, they get 25,000 crores. So that's the best news that they can really get. Sorry, what was the other question? Yeah, I did mention in the earlier comment that we will look at a a strategic sale option for the global business, again to dramatically reduce debt in the new Aircom.
Servicing issues that Reliance Communication arises in the market several times. We see other group companies also being punished, in the market. So there's one concern that is there a possibility that the healthier balance sheet of your other group company may be considered or maybe reached out to for any kind of help?
There is,
because this is one
all our
clarification that a lot of
companies
analysts
are
keep on talking about. Would you
independent.
like to?
As
all our companies,
you are familiar that we do not have cross holdings across companies. If the job of the mutual fund is to own Bharti and Reliance and Idea, that's their job. It's nothing to do with us. But we don't encourage any cross holdings. So we don't see any need or any reason going forward to support any of the independent companies. So Reliance Communication, Reliance Infra, Reliance Power, they are all separate independent entities. They have their own ratings. They're doing very well. We have made huge progress on the defense side. We're making huge progress on the Reliance Capital and all its businesses side. All our plants are operating in Reliance Power. So I don't think there is a chance. I don't think there is even a remote possibility.
even a remote possibility.
I had a follow-up
This is from?
question. I'm Ritu from CNBC
Okay.
18. I had a follow-up question to what you said about no conversion to equity. Clarify. You yourself said there's a deadline in your words given by the lenders of 7 months. There must be some consequences if that deadline is not met. While you're pushing ahead with both of these transactions, there are various approvals that are not in your hand. What happens at the end of that 7-month period? Is there a chance that lenders communicated to you that they will invoke strategic debt restructuring as we understand if that 7-month deadline is not met?
Yeah, I think that it's a very good question. There are, there is no unlimited time and there's no unlimited deadline. So the provisions of various restructuring schemes as published by RBI actually are open to be exercised after the standstill period is over. So there should be no surprises for that at all.
On that, if they're considering a strategic debt restructuring and looking into bring a new promoter, you already have tie-ups with, for instance, with Relgio. How would you look to strengthen that relationship? I believe this is a little early to ask.
Yeah, no, I think that let me separate out your two questions and let me just speak about so that you put your thought in the right direction. When banks do contemplate conversion of debt to equity under any scheme, their objective is effectively that they would like to see that the company is transformed and it goes into other hands and they can be more sure of their debt, and in all cases, okay, they have to make provisions, they have to make haircuts, they have to do lots of different things. Here, in our case, I think what the lenders clearly recognize, and we appreciate their understanding, is we are already on our way to do everything that you would have done. So if you look at any case of SDR till now, just to answer your question, correct? Have they been able to find a new buyer? Correct? Yeah. What I'm saying is of the scale and magnitude. So you're not talking about 5, 10 and 20 crores. Two is, in our proposal, we are not selling 51%. We are selling 100% to Brookfield. So, what you want to achieve, we are doing that. So similarly, we are putting our wireless assets into a 50-50 JV. So, the essence of what you want to achieve is we are already achieving. So, that is why in the standstill period, as long as we complete anything, as Puneet mentioned, there are no unidentified flying objects, and then people will understand that if there is a high court on holiday or a Supreme Court on holiday and something is going to be delayed by 3 weeks or 4 weeks for that final approval, as they call it. Like we have looked at SSTL, we're just waiting for, after having the in-principle approval, we're waiting for the final approval of the DOT, which is to come in the next 2 weeks. But, whether it's now 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I can't really judge on that. So I think that it is only right for the lenders to keep all their options open, that at the end of that December period, correct, that they have the option to do whatever form of restructuring that they would like to do. But in the end, after that, what will happen? They'll have to look for a new buyer, which we've already been through. They would like to dispose of the tower assets, which we've already done. So, and why we are talking about 30th September is, on the other side, we've got till December. So we've already built in the comfort factor of that 3 months in terms of, any delays, any vagaries of courts, X, Y, Z. And it's usually the system delays that occur. Puneet mentioned in his presentation on SSTL, and since there were some questions on timing and delay, etc., one single shareholder with 10 shares, so put the value even at 1,000 rupees, whatever is there, delayed our merger by 9 months. Just one shareholder. And I'm just going to read an interesting part of the judgment of Honorable Justice G.S. Patel, delivered on the 7th of October 2016. And this is one of the allegations against me by that shareholder. That the Aircom's chairman, I'm now reading the judgment, okay, that the Aircom's chairman allegedly conducts 4 AGMs in a day and does not allow Mr. Mehta to speak for more than 2 to 3 minutes, and so on. This is his objection. None of these has a bearing on the scheme. If Aircom's chairman is able to conduct 4 AGMs in a day, that surely speaks of his capacity and stamina, particularly if he had to deal with obdurate shareholders at each of the AGMs. As for restricting Mr. Mehta to 2-3 minutes, that is perhaps all to the good. I do not see under what law Mr. Mehta can claim a right to exhaust patience and trespass on eternity. These are not the kind of matters that should be trotted out to pad up, and this is nothing if not padding up an objection. These objections are utterly frivolous. It took 9 months to get this judgment, and this is the judgment, to throw him out and to approve the scheme of merger. So, whether we call it unidentified flying objects or anything else, so what we've done is, here is our plan for September, here is the additional 3 months. So we're hopeful through that, and that's why I spoke about exiting the standstill at the end of December in any case.
Mr. Ambani, there's a question, sir, on apart from standstill agreement.
I can't hear you.
Apart from this standstill agreement which you have sought from lenders, is there anything else you have asked from bankers? No. Okay, and also
we have just asked that everybody be converged, productive, transparent on accomplishing both these strategic transactions.
And also, is there any valuation you can give it for the GCX and the TAKC land which you were talking about? Is there any valuation?
We have different estimates. I think we will make them public only when we have a transaction, because we don't want to deal with speculation.
Mr. Ambani.
Sir, this is Manoj. Sorry, let me just take it. Yeah.
Mr. Ambani, thank you for taking the question.
I can't hear you.
It's Yuna Galani from Reuters, Breaking Views. You've expressed a great confidence in the transformation plan you have until December. I was wondering, do you have any plans to express that confidence tangibly with the market? Because there's no confidence there at the moment, by buying shares in your own company to boost, to share your confidence with the market.
I think that the reaction in the markets is a market phenomenon. I already spoke about the rating agencies that we are already engaged with to come back to and restore our credit ratings at the earliest. I'm confident that with the plans of the standstill and us moving ahead, investors will see for themselves what value is there for them, and beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So it's really left to them. And I think that we will see, hopefully, a positive reaction to our announcements and what we've achieved especially with the cooperation of the lenders today.
And sir, just one question. Do you plan to list Aircom at any point? And over what period of time would you expect that to happen?
Yeah, I think that our clear trajectory for Aircom is it has got more than 20,000 crores worth of synergies to be realized over a period of time. And naturally, all options are open for us to consider anything once we have realized those synergies, because then the real value of those synergies is there. I think that to have an independent wireless company, to be focused only on India, to be capital light, to have a complete access to a 4G network on a pan-India basis, to have access to all the towers and all the fiber of Reliance Jio. These are unique aspects that no other operator has got. He's got to invest billions of dollars, before he can get into that shape. So I think that we will look at the combination of realizing the synergies, having our rightful place in the wireless market in India, and then we will look at options post that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Most of ये extension है जो मेरी colleague का answer आपने किया था. We are talking about business confidence है, यहाँ पे we are talking about stake sale और यहाँ पे लेकर reduction of your debt, जो कि एक बड़ा concern भी रह चुका है. I'm talking about the visibility of top line as well as bottom line going forward. जैसे minority shareholders का एक interest protect रहेगा. Is there a visibility in that front? कोई improvement के लिए आप अगर share कर सकते हैं?
No, there is clearly if debt is reduced by 25,000 crores, clearly interest cost savings are going to be reflected. When we do the Aircel Aircom wireless merger, I just spoke about the large synergies that have to be realized, so that is naturally going to aid in our top line and our bottom line overall. So these are all accretive transactions. They are not, and I think that they will create a long-term shareholder value. I'm just going to go there. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question there? Yeah, go ahead. And then I'll come here.
Shayan Ghosh from the Financial Express.
Yes.
A clarification on your earlier answer regarding no conversion of debt to equity. So if there is no conversion of debt to equity, under what provisions have you been granted the 7 months of standstill classification? If you could throw some light on that.
Yeah, the provisions are under the SDR provisions, which allow a standstill period of 7 months. And no conversion in that period of time. At the end of that period, either we've finished our program, then we've exited that mechanism, or then the lenders move into action in looking at options. Frankly, I would be surprised because if we are unsuccessful after doing all the work that we have done in the next 3 to 4 months to accomplish this, I doubt anybody else will be able to accomplish it.
So just to follow up, if you could allow.
A follow-up question to a follow-up question. Okay, go ahead.
A follow-up question to a clarification rather.
Okay,
generally the rule according to RBI is that if banks fail to convert the debt into equity in 7 months, the loan turns bad. Why exactly would you think banks wouldn't convert the debt into equity and exit the SDR? Is there a reason to that?
No. If we are able to complete our transactions, there is no reason because the debt has been repaid. So there's nothing left to be discussed. So there's nothing left to be discussed after that. If we finish our transactions by September, there's nothing left to be discussed. As I said, that we will be exiting the standstill.
So this is Ali Gandhi
from
Mint newspaper. So you spoke about the
foreign... You are from where, sir?
Mint.
Okay.
You spoke about foreign lenders are also agreed to this plan. I specifically want to ask about bondholders. There have been some news that some payments have been delayed, your overseas bonds. So are you also engaged with your bondholders and what's the status?
I must correct you that we are current on all bonds issued by GCX and by Aircom. So that question does not arise from your point of view. As far as foreign lenders are concerned, I already told you all of them have attended, whoever needs to attend, and they are all supportive of the transformation program. Are we done with this? I'm going to take some behind you. Yeah. No. There is no stay. There is no stay. There is no refinancing involved. We just move the debt, that's all. And if we are getting money from Brookfield, we are just repaying the debt, that's all. When we look at the numbers, and this is all in the public domain, it's there in our annual results, we have 25,000 crores of rupees and 20,000 crores of foreign exchange. Pro rata, 60%, everybody will get pro rata because everybody is pari passu. So once you have a fair treatment, then nobody has a problem. If you choose a lender and only pay him, then naturally people are not going to consent. We would not do it. We would just say that everybody is at the same level. So all secured lenders will go down the tree and just get paid pro rata. I'm just going to go back. So come back to you. Don't worry.
Sorry, just a small clarification. How much of debt is involved in this standstill? Like what is the amount of
in
the standstill for which you won't be servicing? The rupee loan which is covered under the standstill agreement, which you won't be servicing in the next 7 months.
Oh, I don't have an estimate at the top of my head, but since it's a standstill, it doesn't make a difference whether it's 50 crores or 500 crores. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. Go ahead, Ashwin. Yeah, fourth. Go ahead.
Keeping government policy and regulatory atmosphere aside, would you agree with the assessment that perhaps life for telecom operators like you was far more easier before the entry of LGO? Because post the entry of LGO, the word sustainability has become a buzzword.
The word sustainability has become a buzzword in the telecom sector like never before. Your thoughts on that?
No, I think that clearly the industry...
Various people in Delhi have used various words, tsunami, crisis, whatever else. I think that there is a huge change. And I think that all the minds who run telecom are the same. However, what we need to really do is to change our mindset. So you will see that nobody talks about RPM, MOU, this, that, etc., etc. The metrics of measurement has altered completely. There is a brand called Free in France, for example. Okay, they've done this many years ago. Okay, and they've taken it to Switzerland. They've taken it to many other countries. So I really believe that there is an evolution cycle. And so we had the 90s and we had the 2000 and in 95, 96 there was 75% EBITDA margin. in the business there was license fees was 1 crore. Spectrum was free, it was bundled with the license. So we've gone through this transformation. And I think that going forward with a 5-6 player market, and I don't think that India should have or deserves a monopoly or a monopsony or oligopoly, either of that. So I think 5-6 players, including BSNL as one player, is a good industry structure to have. It's not too cumbersome, and I think that each one will find their place in terms of what they really want to do. I think that as my late father would say, that in every adversity, everybody must look for opportunity. So I think that the industry has to look for opportunity, and they have to think in newer dimensions. And maybe the old thinking was relevant 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but I think that things have changed dramatically, and I think we have to recognize change.
Sure, thanks.
Sure. That's a great question because our plan B is our plan A. Our plan A of transformation of both these transactions is without any changes from the government. So nothing changes on spectrum fees, nothing changes on bank guarantees, nothing changes on AGR, nothing changes on USO, nothing changes on 525, nothing changes in RBI guidelines. There's absolutely no change. So if there's any change, as I said earlier, it can only be a bump up. It won't be a bump down. So it would be a catalyst to move things forward. No, I think that predatory pricing, competitive pressures have to be factored in. So when we look at the new Aircom, it recognizes the reality of 2017. It does not build its business model based on what was happening in 2016. Forget about 2010. So we're just recognizing the reality of saying what is the GB price, what is the voice pricing, and factor that in. And that's about it. So it's based. Now, if 2 years or 1 year down the road somebody says, I'm going to give a phone free and data free and voice free and I will pay you money, then that's something that we can't really combat. But just to give you the comfort that the Aircom plans going forward are based on the reality of May 2017. Okay, so they're not based on some speculative 85% EBITDA margin of 1995. Yeah, I think that is one of the suggestions that the industry has made. It's been endorsed by the TRAI. And I mean, from a banking perspective, you just look at it as an asset liability mismatch. The spectrum is valid for 20 years, but you have to pay everything in 10 years. So if it's valid for 20 years, and operators had the option, you could pay upfront, correct? Or you could give annual installment and pay over 10 years. The regulators recommended on multiple occasions that it should just be convergent. It's a 20-year spectrum, and it should be there. The other demand that industry is making is that why have a 20-year expiry? Make it in perpetuity, because customers and companies can't be at risk for every rollover to saying, will I continue in my business or not? So perpetuity costs money, so it's not free. I'm not asking anything free. I'm just saying that if you give certainty to people, people are ready to pay for certainty. Uncertainty, risks are always factored in. So I think that we believe this is one of the easier things to get done, which is the 10 to 20, because the bank guarantees are there, the interest is being paid, and the spectrum is already out there, and the regulators recommend it. So we don't need any more further pushing and pulling on that subject. Yep.
Mr. Ambani, this is Sankalp from Reuters. What is the scope of any further cooperation with Jio? And is there a chance that Jio or Reliance Industries might buy a stake in Aircom?
Yeah, I think that the bedrock of our strategic partnership with Jio is based on the fact that Reliance Jio is a separate entity. Reliance Communication is a separate entity, and that will continue. We will have strategic cooperation in terms of spectrum, sharing, trading, fiber, towers, intercircle roaming, correct? And any other areas which can bring synergies, cost savings to either of us. And that is the strategic roadmap that will continue. Other than this, I don't see any other speculation is really desirable. No, I think that it's a function of when people look at the spectrum value, they look at the ability to trade it so that they can monetize it in case you get stuck with something, and they look at the period of validity. So if you say something is valid for 5 years, then nobody's going to give you 10-year money. If it's valid for 10 years, then nobody's going to give you 20-year money, so on and so forth. So I think that there is financing available at lower cost, provided some of these things are fixed, and that's upfront with the regulator. I mean, he's fully familiar with that.
presentation, you said the data prices fell by 40%, and in some schemes, it's as low as 3 paisa per MB. I want your view on how far the data prices can go, and do you see these data prices are sustainable in a longer term or medium term?
I would just give you a big picture idea. I think it will be dependent on each operator, his return expectations, his cost of capital, and his desires. I don't think that this is, at the moment, a cost-driven issue. There's nothing to do with what is my cost. You know, for example, we said about mobile termination charges. They were relevant at that particular time. I don't think that this is, at the moment, a cost-driven issue. There's nothing to do with what is my cost. You know, for example, we said about mobile termination charges. They were relevant at that particular time, but in 3 out of the 4 segments, if the MTC is 0 and with voice is free, then why should there be an MTC? You know, there's no reason. The world has moved on mobile termination charges to 0 or has moved to bill and keep. That the telecom landscape. Then we need to see a bill and keep or a 0 mobile termination charge. To your question in terms of how low can data be, if voice is free, data can be free. I was, somebody asked me and saying, how do you really compete with free? And I said, the only way you can compete with free is to give it free. You know, there's no other way to compete with anything that's free. You can't say, I'll charge you 50% of your price, because that doesn't really work.
Isn't that irrational behavior from telecom companies? Because for the last 3 years, rating agencies, analysts, all have been warning that it's going to put some pressure on the financials of telecom companies. Yeah. And companies continue to go into this hyper-competitive mode. And today, you know, many of them have high debt to EBITDA ratio. When will the industry realize on its own? Because you have been represented to the government, but the government would be coming back to you saying, you know, I didn't ask you to be hyper-competitive.
Yeah, no, I think that we are responding to market forces, okay? So that is at that level. 2 is, every company has their strategy. So when you see that the industry is consolidating, correct? These are ultimately strategies to become more competitive, to lower cost. Our agreements with Jio are effectively a capital light model for us, and that is our operating strategy. When everybody said you are in CDMA and you are in 850 megahertz spectrum and it's a dying system, correct? We have converted our 850 megahertz spectrum into platinum, you know, by sharing it and trading it. That's the 4G spectrum, you know, while other people are trying to give 4G in 1800 or in some other band. There is no question of having a better gold standard in experience terms than having 850 spectrum in 4G. So we have converted what everybody thought is a liability into a huge asset. You know, others have not done it, but I mean, that's really left to them. So I think that I don't see the reason for us to think that operators are not clever, operators have not done their homework, operators have not done their predictive analysis. I think that people have to recognize the new reality and just move along and just be ready. So if you thought that 5 times debt to EBITDA was good 5 years ago, maybe the new norm is 3 times debt to EBITDA. Maybe the next norm is 1 time debt to EBITDA. You know, we don't know what is really going to happen at that level. So I think that it's an evolving industry. You've got to be on your toes and you just have to react. Sorry.
Could you give us a sense on the valuation of the same?
Yeah, I think that I went through that and I said that we've got substantial value in all our new Aircom assets, and I would not speculate onto that, but there will be very, very large value to effect a steep debt reduction of Aircom. I'll take that question. From where, sir?
Kujensis.
Okay.
Okay. At the risk of just asking you to clarify something, you said that 60% of your debt will be paid back. What happens to the rest of the debt? Are you looking at renegotiating terms for the debt with any of your lenders? Are you looking at extending tenure? Anything on the anvil?
No, I think that the way we are approaching it is very simple. Complete the two transactions, parallelly work on the reduction of debt. So when we are talking about reduction of debt, there is no question of talking about doing anything else. If debt is just going to be repaid, then why talk about it? What we do with the final level of debt that we are comfortable with is a question at that stage. We don't have to think about it today. First, we must get to our desired levels of debt and what we think is safe, and things are changing every day, and then think about it. But if you are at a debt to EBITDA of 2 or 3, and nobody has any concerns at all after that, so then people will do whatever they want to do when you are super conservative in that sense. Yep.
Account remains standard.
I'm sorry.
And your account remains standard with all the lenders.
Yeah, there's a standstill. That's it.
So that's it. It remains standard.
Yeah. So last question. 2 more, 3 more.
So this is regarding
you're saying 2 more from there. I thought you wanted Dipali to ask whether you're joining the Reliance Capital board. So on a lighter vein, I was telling him, that was, I think, came from you, and on a lighter vein, I was telling him outside, I said, you are lucky to be in this room, because what you have suffered in Aircom, we don't want you to bring that suffering to Reliance Capital. So we'll leave him intact in Reliance Communication, and more so to implement all our strategic programs that we have on our way. So I'll take the last 2 questions. So
this is regarding the Aircom debt of 15 plus 15. So do the lenders remain the same, because Aircom as an entity would not have large assets to provide as security, which would have been provided to the lenders when they lend to Aircom or to S?
No,
right?
They have substantial amount of assets. I told you our spectrum value is 20,000 crores itself. That's our value. Then Aircel has their own spectrum value. Plus there are very, very large assets from there. So they have sufficient cover. All the work has been done. This has been looked at by lenders. And I think to your question on whether it is old debt or new debt, it doesn't really make a difference. Whether you take new debt and then repay old debt, or you take old debt and repay new debt, how does it make a difference? The combination is 14 plus 14 and not 15 plus 15. So it's 28,000 crores and not 30,000 crores. I'll take the last question. I'm not taking one from BTV. I'll take from you. Go ahead. I'll take from you, Piyush. Piyush will have some nice fancy questions, so I'll be a little amused. Piyush, I'm disappointed you have not asked me about the relationship between my brother and me. It's very, very sad. Very sad. I said very sad. Very sad. I can only tell you, since you linger with those thoughts, they are the most cordial, meaningful, and full of respect. So any speculation from your side is completely unnecessary and uncalled for, and you better put a skull and 2 bones on that thought. I've not done the James Bond on you, shaken and stirred both. Pooch le. Whatever you want to ask, you ask it. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir. No, I think that if you are judging for 6 months, you're right. But if you're judging for 3 years and 5 years, and as we create the new Aircom and we create the new wireless entity with all the agreements, there is a huge long-term strategic value. If you see the numbers in CapEx that a Bharti has to invest, that a Idea Vodafone combination is to invest in spectrum, in fiber, in towers, in electronics, correct? It is going to be mind-boggling. Okay. Now, the big driver for us is very simply that in the medium to long term, we have this unique advantage of going on their 100,000 towers, going on their 100,000 fiber network, having ICR across all the spectrum bands. We have given our 850, we get their 1800, their 2300, so on and so forth. And if there is an auction in the future for 700 megahertz spectrum, and if they buy it, we have access to that. So I think that do not judge by what has happened in 2 quarters. Okay, do not judge that. If the free offer, for example, went on for 5 years, then you can make your judgment. And as I said, that you can compete free only with free. But you can still ask your question on my brother. Your last question? Anybody? Oh, you're not from, where are you from? You're from Bloomberg. You can't. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
So two-thirds of the promoters' equity in two-thirds of promoters' equity in Aircom is pledged.
Yeah.
This percentage has gone up in the recent quarters.
Yes.
Is there a plan to retrieve it back, and who is it pledged to?
Sure. Do you have the access to the Bombay Stock Exchange website? There's a full disclosure on that.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.